right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get this show on the road. We are doing our monthly Earth Tribe report for, of course, the Earth signs Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn during Cancer season 2025. All right, y'all. Um, we're going to follow this up with the new moon in Cancer ceremony. So that should definitely be very exciting. This, of course, will be accurate for you for your progressed sun and rising, and of course, your natal sun and rising, moon as well. If you found accuracy in previous readings of this, you're welcome to incorporate that too. Okay. So we're going to actually start with right off the bat, Taurus. Okay. Taurus, we know that for you Taurus risings, natal and progressed, Taurus suns, natal and progressed, we know that Cancer is your third house of attitude, mindset, skills, psychic skills. And, this represents third stage activation. And I think what this also represents, in a way, is preparation for integration when we step into Leo season. You not only had the final Uranus Sun conjunction in your first house or near your sun, then Jupiter finished out of your second house in Gemini. Now it's activating this brand new cycle that is quintessentially expanding your emotional intelligence. Now, the way I like to measure EQ in astrology, is third house water signs, because the third house is a house of intellect, really more so the way you communicate. And when you put a water sign, I like to think, especially for earth sign risings, that this represents a more subtle form of really, not just feeling, but communicating through one's emotions, communicating in this more impersonal way, or well, it's definitely personal, but in this more non-linear way. Okay, of course, at different levels. At the Taurus level, I get the sense that, especially with Jupiter here, shout out to those of you having Jupiter returns in Cancer, especially with Jupiter here. The third house is actually really good when it comes to trade, when it comes to business. This is the neighborhood. Ninth house is going to be more like international business, but this is like, having a very successful lemonade stand. And now that Gemini through Jupiter has expanded what you think your worth is, and the ability for you to manifest more and for you to speak more life and manifest your word, Uranus, that's going to leave your sign with Venus and go through Gemini, while this liquidity is activating, is going to very quickly over the rest of the decade with Uranus innovate how much you can automate this process of getting that dough, getting that bag, speaking that money into existence. And I think what's also ideal is, of course, with Saturn and Neptune that is squaring from your 12th to the third house, there is a transcendence of unconscious habits and beliefs as it applies to hidden aspects of your identity and character, some of you, your secret identities, that will greatly now challenge your mindset and how you feel about expressing your attitude towards others. This could express anywhere from saucy, sassy, juicy, scolding hot water. The Neptunian element and square here, I think, is going to be very underrated because no other sign has now Neptune in its 12th house, which I think kind of could be a very serious positive, especially with Saturn, that will at least put it in check. But this can be an unconscious influence within you that will really guide how you are opening up this integration to ground and flourish more new mindsets, all right, new attitudes. And the cool thing with third house water is you can say so much without really saying much. Virgo with their side eye, Taurus will just look at you in a certain way. Capricorn will just sternly like stare at you a certain way, and that's like communicating that unspoken language. All right. Regardless, Mercury getting ready to go over Pluto, Mars in your fifth, all of these avenues, because eventually coming into the new moon in Capricorn, we will have Venus and Uranus in Gemini. Okay. Mercury in your fourth. All right. Mars still in your fifth. So this will prepare for the retrograde in your fourth house, which now that you're getting this facet of your third house wet and activating this, you'll be reevaluating how you reintegrate and reevaluate the social integration of this new version of yourself. And that's what's really, it's happening for everyone, but Aries, Taurus, and Gemini have been embodying this. And now Cancer, the first four signs have been embodying this new version of their identity. Aries is now the first to really begin to integrate this, all right, relative to the new cycle. Okay. Shout out to all y'all in the chat per usual. And shout out to y'all on Instagram as well. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. Of course, I want to find a really cool way to speak on this third house activation, because it's definitely going to shift the way you engage with your immediate environment, especially your neighborhood. A lot. It's cool with Cancer. You can still be homebody like this, but the more you really, it's not about putting yourself out there, but the more you really kind of take advantage of opportunities around you, the more fortune you can come into. And now, if you know your worth through the second house, it's really about communicating that to people, networking in a way that will add more to the value you prepared to give to others. Now, third house is also learning. So it could also reflexively mean teaching. And this is definitely going to have you, gain a lot of insight through said experiences and shifts, albeit this Cancer season is just starting to break this out. So by the time the moon is in Capricorn and you're harvesting, the integrity of the philosophical utilization of this new attitude, how are you able to practically take this new mindset you're activating and learn more from it, teach others how you're breaking through with this attitude? That's going to prepare for the integration phase throughout the rest of the summer. And if you once again remember that this is an extension of Jupiter that has gone through your sign and now has expanded the true quality of your worth and value, this will get you excited. Because as soon as, once again, Venus and Uranus go in your second, you're immediately going to sense it. Pluto is awakening your higher legacy. It's breaking through what you probably didn't think you could achieve into higher heights. And now that that's finally square, trining Uranus and Venus, you may, for the first time, start seeing, value and money come in that you've always known you've deserved. All right. And could make. So this season, I think, is going to really be the beginning of quite literally experiencing said liquidity. Now, to talk a bit about that 12th house, Jupiter went through there 2023. And and Uranus went through there 2010 to 2028, 2010 to 2018. I'm sorry. So Saturn and Neptune going through there could be very tricky, but we've already kind of expanded it. You've already kind of gotten a flavor of what that's like. It's just going to test you on this belief in who you are, even if no one else believes it, right? Do you still maintain that authenticity, which is going to reveal how much more powerful you are? And that's what's going to go in to this definition of your mindset with the third house Cancer. And you know, you're one of the most resilient zodiac signs, Taurus, especially you Taurians. Like you're very sturdy. You're the most solid zodiac sign. You know, everyone is going to, you're going to have people who are flashier than you. They may get way more views. You know what I mean? They may personally like wow people more, but you're going to be here in 20 years. They were here for like 5 years. Yeah, maybe their 4-year run was like extraordinary, but you still here 20 years later, stronger than ever. You know what I mean? Like you are the longevity. You are the real quality. And this really is now off the heel of activating this next cycle of evolution, getting you ready to go to the distance yet again. That being said, we are going to now look at Virgo. Okay. Virgo, congratulations. As we know, this previous Jupiter in Gemini has quintessentially leveled up your career and legacy. And I think that's the most exciting thing about you right now. Your 10th house is getting lit the fuck up by the full moon with Uranus and Virgo, especially if you're a Virgo rising, especially if your Virgo rising progressed, and even Virgo sun. Virgo sun, this is making a 270-degree angle to your sun, especially if you were born at the end of August, like the first 5 days of Virgo season. You guys are going to be the first to actually enact this square. The later Virgos, you may have to wait till later, but you're still going to sense the effect of this. And I can't necessarily overstate enough the importance of Jupiter going through Gemini. I think it came and went. And if you're too critical, if maybe you were expecting it to be more than it was supposed to be, you may be severely underestimating the historic, iconic nature of your success here. And that's because Gemini is very underestimated. So, you know, there are ideas you put out there, and maybe people were distracted by a lot of other dumb shit that was said that, you know, you keep it real, Virgo. So like, you're not really too focused on how flashy what you say is. You're going to say what's real. And it's easy for people to focus on other stuff because it's more dramatic, more controversial. And given everything that's happened the past couple of years, I think a lot of people may have underestimated the ideas you've been putting out there over the past couple of years. And now that you have personally completed that, you've begun to complete that, the beginning of the season coming into the rest of the year is going to reveal, especially by Sagittarius season, right, and Capricorn as well, the significance of what you have completed breaking through. Especially from the outside looking in, there's a lot of expertise and mastery that is underground, like a tree with a lot of roots. So a lot of stuff you've accomplished could look like it's not that serious, could look like it's not that deep. And people don't know why it means so much to you when, you know, in reality, the stuff you've accomplished should legitimately be in history books. But, and I don't mean that in a, oh, this is how it should be. I mean, like realistically, like the stuff you've accomplished in just the past 2 weeks alone could be in a history book. It's just more often than not, more people are, and I don't mean to be disrespectful, but it's like a lot more people are, how do I say this respectfully? Fucking stupid. So like they don't even know how to make sense of, like, to understand what you're doing would require an intellect and a deep understanding about what you do that it may take them 30 years to even understand half of. And that's why I wanted to be very respectful with this, because I don't want to act like, oh, we're snobby, we're better. It's just a fact. It's just a fact. There's a lot of dumb motherfuckers that are willing to really undermine hard work you've put in over the past 10 years. Something that even if you paid them, they can never replicate. And I'm not trying to gas you up. And I'm not trying to glaze you. This is some real shit. By the time Uranus and Venus go through your 10th, it may be too late for people to really kind of support or come. Not like it's a you better support me before it's too late, but it might be too late because the innovation of how you're just going to rapidly, unexpectedly, come into windfalls of income and greater success, will reflect what you've expanded the past year since last year, May. Even if it's just in form of getting your word out there. All right. And I think it's because some of you are very non-assuming. You feel me? Like some of you don't necessarily try and express what you're saying like it's as that important. You're very humble. You're very kind. So, when people now see the results of what it is you've been working on, they're going to be fucking dumbfounded. Because from the outside looking in, yeah, they seen you working on whatever, but they had no idea you was really, really doing it. You was really, really doing whatever you were doing. And the autonomy, the uniqueness, the independence that you're going to be able to really enjoy from this, I think, is going to be amazing. So now that Jupiter is in Cancer, the perspective of what you've seen as the true legacy you have completed. Remember, since 2016, Jupiter was in Virgo. Since you started that as a Virgo rising through your first, or you activated that through your sun, you've completed that. You've begun to complete that evolution cycle. That's why this is a very important period for you, because now, from now until July 2026, you are actively manifesting rewards. This isn't really about starting new shit. The South Node is in your sign. It's unlocking 10 years worth of development to put other people on. So you are quite literally expanding who you feel deserves to enjoy in your accomplishments with you. This is during this period, starting this season, this is a new moon of pretty much a new cycle of friendships. Like who are the sincere individuals in your corner who actually supported you? And I'm saying this because Uranus and Venus going your 10th is going to blow your name up, like very unconventionally. You're not going to see it coming. Some of you might have, but it's still going to be very random. Venus is going to polish it. And then over the rest of the decade, as Uranus goes through your 10th, the work and construction you've done to set up what you think success means for you, Uranus is just going to innovate it, which is like going viral. You know what I'm saying? You're putting a Uranian function in your 10th house of reputation. This is your name being out there attached to some controversial news, and this you going viral. All right. And of course, because you are also unlocking this greater discipline and these belief systems, 7th house Pisces, opposite your Virgo sun, in the 7th house to you, you're using your own analysis, the own critical perspective of yourself to now align how you support who believes in you and who you believe in. You're using your own discernment to unlock divine partnerships in your life. And once again, I feel like some of you are like really too kind. All right. In the sense where you allow people who don't know shit about what you do to argue with you about what you do. You allow people to be like, well, I don't know about that. And it's like, fam, you are not even close to being on my level. I don't have no offense. Like the fact that you think you could tell me about what I do is comical, but y'all are kind. Like y'all would actually still break down. You better than me. You better than me. You better than me. I would just tell them to suck my dick. You way better than me. And that's where, this will, one, through the Cancer season transit, really, and that's where the square is important. It's really going to show you who passes your boundary test, who you can trust. And Christy was right. Come straight or get the fuck out. Seriously. Because there's going to be a lot more people who want their hands on what you worked hard for, but they weren't shooting with you in the gym. Let's just keep it a buck. And of course, that's what brings us to the square with Saturn and Neptune in your eighth. And Neptune adds a subtlety to where you're gleaning nonlinear intuitive insight about others' characters relative to how they deal with you and how you deal with them. And Saturn is going to consistently test you on how well you enforce these boundaries, which is why I always say Saturn going through your eighth house is a spiritual warfare transit. After the opposition, where you're literally beefing with the entire world, now it's going through your eighth house where Saturn is going to test you, okay, by having people cross the line. Try you. People try you more than they've ever tried you. And the reason for that is you're being tested on how well you enforce your boundaries. The eighth house is opposite your second house of wealth and self-esteem. So if you have weak eighth house, you believe that people can walk all over you and you do not defend your values by your boundaries. So Saturn is going to have people try you over the next 2.5 years so that you can show Saturn, no, this is the boundary. Nobody crosses this line. And that might entail slapping the bleep out of a bleep, okay? Which now that's where Aries clashes with Virgo. Virgo is classy. Aries will smack a bitch, period. That's it. You might have to do that, especially with Chiron in Aries, which clashes with your more classy nature, but gets the job done and is very effective. Should they cross the line, whether energetically or you might have to catch a battery charge. You just might have to. Because some people will try and play with you thinking that your kindness is weakness, and they're going to learn the hard way. No. No, that's not what we doing. That's not what we doing. And so the eighth house is squaring your 11th house of friendships, and you're going to be tested on how well new friendships you're making, existing partnerships you have, respect these boundaries. Who you can break bread with, make money with, who you're bringing to the top with you. And that might stifle how much more friends you can make. But 11th house Cancer means you don't just befriend anybody. Your friends are special and psychic as fuck too. You also have Mars in your sign. So now that it's come out your 12th house, this releases some sense of lethargy, and you have the god of war ready to just, channel the stepper within you. And you might feel like slapping more people as well. Listen, you're one of the few people who can slap people and they'll thank you for doing it. Not everyone can do that. Not everyone can do that. You're one of those people like, hey, you know what? I was being stupid. Thank you, Virgo. Like, that's magic, if you ask me. It's very rare to see that. But other than that, you feel me? It could feel like what were the gods? Other than that, Uranus going into your 10th, Mars in your 1st, and Jupiter going through your 11th until next year, July, is you actively gaining rewards from the work you did last year. So congratulations. If you're still trapping yourself to think, oh, I need to do this to get success, you did it already. You did it. Like, you're literally reaping what you sowed. So you want to put yourself in a position where you're around the right people who really support, not gas you up, who acknowledge that you have achieved success, okay? Who actually acknowledge that you've done the work versus people who are hating and want to have you feel like there's still more for you to do. That's not the case. This is a reward cycle. I don't have to do shit. It comes to me now is the best affirmation. I would say we could really just loop over and over and over again. All right. And with Pluto awakening in your 6th house, right? The awakening of this extraordinary quality of lifestyle is going to funnel straight to this unconventional innovation of your career. And that's what leads us to Capricorn. Because when it comes to now the 7th house, unlike Virgo, who is going through a first stage completion or second stage completion, right? Taurus is going through third stage activation. Cancer for Virgo is second stage completion. And Cancer for, of course, Capricorn is first stage harvest. So Jupiter has finally made it opposite you, which means since 2020, when you had Jupiter go through your sign or your rising, you, for the first time since 2020, are finally harvesting and breaking through 6 years worth of evolution. All right. Now it's in the seventh. Now it's getting ready to make a 180-degree angle to your sun or your moon or your Jupiter, if you have Jupiter in Cap. So the integrity of self that you've embodied is now going to represent the sincerity you express through others aligned with your integrity. And in a nutshell, you're going to, over the next year until July next year, expand what more you feel you can do with the right people. And that's what brings us back to Jupiter in Gemini, because the Gemini transit was what expanded the thought process around your behavioral patterns. How enlightened do you live your life? Because now this enlightened lifestyle, you're not only going to integrate towards what you feel you can do with other people, but Uranus going through your sixth is going to automate your lifestyle. And I think I remember talking about this before. Diana, welcome to the YouTube membership. I'm going to be ending that very soon. So I highly do recommend you guys. All right. You're still welcome to stay on. July is going to be the last month that I keep this membership up. But yeah, other than that, I really do appreciate you, Diana. And yeah, I think yesterday when I was talking with Sagittarius, I did speak about the automation of lifestyle. But unlike Sagittarius, who has concluded that and will now apply that towards their relationships with others, you are just now getting ready to innovate and automate your routine, which is beautiful because now the fifth house Taurus really innovated how creatively your value is. And now Gemini is going to be that automated quality or nature of using technology or just, smarter methods to plug, drop, play, multitask. And this is going to get you ridiculously paid, especially with Pluto in your second, that Jupiter is expanded, Saturn has now constructed. So Pluto over the next 20 years is just awakening obscene, filthy, ridiculously monstrous amounts of wealth. I mean, wealth that don't even make sense. Let me be completely honest. Wealth that's like sci-fi and futuristic. That even me now saying it is crazy, but in 10 years, you'd be like, damn, he knew what he was talking about. So this trining Uranus in your sixth is allocating this extreme method of knowing your worth into how unconventional your lifestyle will be throughout the rest of the decade. And the way, and that's where Venus coming through here is going to polish these beautiful ideas. And moving forward, the way you live your life is not going to be normal at all, especially if it was never normal. It's going to be even less normal. It's going to be revolutionary. You're going to revolutionize your lifestyle for the rest of this decade while you're expanding, the power of your partnerships. All your relationships are leveling up, and whoever can't really handle that, they're going to fall off. All right. So the square with Saturn and Neptune in your fourth is cool. Saturn in the fourth, which is your ruler, really speaks towards, real estate, okay, working from home, having more autonomy within your private space, issues with family that have to be brought up so that, boom, there's greater integrity. And this restriction, which is meant to liberate your home space and your inner world, is going to really influence what personal relationships that you have with other people. okay, and who you believe has the integrity to be privy to important things that you are having within. All right. Uh Indirectly, a square like this prepares for marriage or can strengthen a marriage. But I think since Saturn does rule your sign, fourth house transit with Neptune here, which is going to reimagine your home space and your private world, I think is going to be very powerful. I think it's going to be very beautiful. Mars is in your ninth house, and it's definitely in unlocking this new divine attitude with divine skills. Will be revisited as Saturn retrogrades back there, but it's still going to be really awesome moving forward. So yeah, that's what I got for the earth signs. Um, I'm going to keep these videos available until the end of the week. And then you could just join my app, click the description box below if you want to catch the replay. Okay. When you go there, just click Mystical Illuminations TV. And yeah, you'll see all that in the monthly tribe report section. I'm going to now skip over to the next live where we're going to do the new moon in Cancer ceremony. And I will see you guys all there. And until next time, peace.